Hello all, this is going to be my video entry for this week's discussion board. We were asked to look at a sample consent form, but first, before we do that, I want to read you a brief quote about informed consent. This is from Pope K.S.N. Vasquez. The book is called Ethics in Psychotherapy and Counseling, a Practical Guide in Informed Consent and Informed Refusal. This quote is found on page 172, and it's as follows. The process of informed consent provides both the patient and therapist an opportunity to make sure that they adequately understand their shared venture. It is a process of communication and clarification. So, now that we have a little bit of a background of what informed consent provides with the therapist and with the counselor, let's go ahead and look at this sample consent form that I found online. I found one that was from a place called Family Guidance and Therapy Center that's located in San Diego, California. And when you look at the consent form, it has pretty much all the main topics that you would need in a consent form. They talk about things like the services being rendered, and in this case, it is a place that does marriage and family therapy and also psychotherapy as well. They also go over information regarding, pretty heavily, regarding confidentiality in phone calls and text messages. Also, they talk about making sure that if you're going to send any personal information via a text message or via an email, that you would need to make sure that your communication is encrypted. And they're doing this to make sure that nobody can hack your information, nobody can get a hold of your personal information, because it would be a HIPAA liability. So they recommend that you do have a encryption protocol for any type of personal information you're sending. But even with that, they are stating that there is even the potential to have your personal information stolen if you are going to put it into an electronic communication format. Another thing they address is informed consent. Specifically in regards to a minor under the age of 18. So one thing that I thought that was really good about the way that they address this specific thing is that the counselor has professional privilege, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, for their discretion to be able to talk about the treatment of that minor under the age of 18 with the guardian or with the parents. And I think that I eventually, when I become a father, would want to know what is going on with my son or daughter, because a lot of times in this country it's gone very liberal, where the fact that somebody who's under the age of 18 can go and get an abortion without letting their parents know, and other medical procedures. And I understand that it's protected under HIPAA, but I think that the thing that, and I'm not trying to step on any toes if anyone feels differently, this is specifically my opinion with this, is that you can come into problems when I as a father would not be aware if my daughter or son was having a major medical procedure. One thing that also was interesting about this is that, so comparing and contrasting, a lot of these things are very similar to the ACA Code of Ethics and State Board of Rules and Regulations. One of the things I found that was interesting with this is that the way they talk about the counselor's qualifications, it might be just because that this is a therapy center and not going to a specific counselor, that it is up to the patient or client to ask about the qualifications of the counselor. It isn't something that the counselor will necessarily bring up. So I thought that was very interesting how they went about that. So yeah, like looking at these different things, we see that there's a lot of this place in San Diego is doing a very good job at outlining informed consent, and is pretty much in line with what the ACA Code of Ethics and all of that is talking about. Let's go ahead and end with one final quote here. It's from the same book, found in page 174 of Pope and Vasquez. And the quote says, "Informed consent is one way we can try to make sure that the patient's trust is justified. We do not abuse our power, and we express our caring in ways that the patient understands and agrees to." So ultimately, what I'm seeing from this quote and informed consent is that it's really something to allow the client and the therapist to really start off on the right foot, to be able to understand each other, to understand the expectations, to understand how payments are going to be done, how treatment plans are going to be done, outlined, how communications are going to be outlined, just kind of a whole gamut. There's a lot of things that can be overwhelming with this, but I think that it's there to have a mutual protection for the client and for the therapist. So in looking at this, one final thing that this informed consent form lines up with the ACA Code of Ethics and the California State Board of Rules and Regulations. Anyway, that ends my video, so I hope that you guys maybe learned a couple things. I appreciate your guys' time, and I look forward to seeing and replying to your comments. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.